Hi, my name is Aya. You're watching Aya Reads, and I'm here to do a Friends to Lovers book recommendations video. So I actually did a Hate to Love book recommendations video not too long ago, so I'll leave that linked for you. Basically, Friends to Lovers is a very tricky trope for me because when it's done right, they can be one of my favorite books of all time. But with Friends to Lovers, if it's done wrong, I really hate them because I feel like with Friends to Lovers, you have to convince me and do a pretty good job of convincing me why these people have not been together sooner. And I'm specifically talking about friends to lovers or like long-term friends to lovers tropes because like I said, like I need a good reason. Like I'm once again, like I think I mentioned this before in one of my videos. I'm that Cardi B meme where if it's just a dumb reason why they're not together for so long, I'm like, what was the reason? That's me. Like, I just want to know the reason, and if you cannot convince me, then I'm not gonna like your book. It's just as simple as it is. So for the ones I'm recommending, I was definitely convinced because I do have some friends to lovers or like childhood friends to lovers recommendations as well. I have a couple different genres. I have 4 contemporaries, 1 novella, also contemporary but bordering on dark. I have 2 paranormals, I have 1 fantasy romance, and I have 2 historicals. Oh, once again, before I get started, actually, what I really love with Friends to Lovers is also actually getting to see them becoming friends. I really love that. So the most of the time, that is the type of Friends to Lovers that I am drawn to. But like I said, I do have some childhood friends to lovers. So let's get started with the contemporaries. The first one is Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. This is the second and last book in the Ballinger Sisters series. I do have to say, this, out of the 2, the first one is definitely my favorite, but I did really enjoy this one too. Basically, in the first book, Hannah and Fox meet because Hannah is the heroine. She's the sister from the heroine in the first book, and Fox is the best friend of the hero in the first book. So they meet and they kind of hit it off because she loves music and he kind of takes her to this like music convention type place, and they become friends. And ever since the first book, they have been texting a lot, and like there are some feelings simmering, but they never really spoke about those. And she kind of has this crush on this guy, so he's been helping her with that as well, until she's in the film industry and she suggests going to this small town where he lives to film something, and she lives in his house because she cannot live in her sister's house, I think because in-laws are visiting or something like that, romance reasons. So they live together, so it's also a forced proximity situation, and you know, feelings start developing. He is this playboy and he's always been seen as such, and he kind of cannot believe if that somebody would actually love him for him as opposed to what he can provide, which is basically sex. She's scared because she's afraid that once they go there that he's just going to move on and he doesn't want anything serious. So that's also like, that is a reason for me why they cannot be together, and it was a very solid reason. So yeah, I did really love this Friends to Lovers. I did think that like their friendship was very believable, and once it turned into more, that was also very believable to me. The Deal by Elle Kennedy. So this is the exact type of friends to lovers romance that I really love. You actually see them becoming friends in this book. So you basically start off with them being strangers. Slowly they start, well, not slowly, they become friends pretty fast, and then they become more than that. So basically, this book is, you follow a hockey player named Garrett and a music major named Hannah, and they take the same philosophy class, and she's the only one that actually aced this test, and he is slipping in his grades, and he needs his grades to be up to continue playing hockey. So he asks her to be his tutor, and she refuses until he finds out about her crush on this football player. So he proposes a deal that, because his theory is once she's seen with him, then the football player is definitely going to notice and is going to take an interest in her. So basically their deal is that she'll tutor him and then he'll fake date her to get the attention of that football player. So they do that, and slowly while she's tutoring him, they become really good friends. Since he's her friend, eventually she opens up to him that she was raped when she was 15 and she's not been able to orgasm ever since with another guy. Like, she can get herself off, but a guy has never gotten her off. So she asks his help. So it also kind of becomes like a friends with benefits type situation where he helps her, you know, get comfortable again with another guy and, you know, open herself up a little bit more. And those scenes were so cute to me. He was so adorable. The way he did research to find out how he could get her more comfortable, it was so adorable. I really loved, especially the first part where they become friends. I really loved those scenes because it felt very believable to me. And then once feelings start developing, he definitely falls first, and how he's setting, you know, out to actually get her to see him that way too was very, very adorable. This is such a good friends to lovers romance in my opinion. And if you've not read this one for some reason, because it has been out since 2015, I would highly recommend it. The Right Move by Liz Stomford. Apparently I cannot go a single video without mentioning this book. This is definitely one of my favorite books I've read this year for a good reason. This is basically a forced proximity type situation, a roommates turn to friends, turn to lovers. Ryan is a professional basketball player, and he has a sister named Stevie, who was the heroine from the first book, and she was a flight attendant for the hockey team in that book, and she meets Indy. And Indy in the first book, her boyfriend cheated on her, and now she has no place to live. So Stevie forces her brother to take Indy in, and he reluctantly agrees because he really doesn't want to. The only reason he does is for his sister, because he's very set on his privacy. He doesn't want his privacy to be invaded. Plus, they've had 2 interactions in the first book that did not go over very well. But he agrees, like I said, and he also needs a fake girlfriend for reasons. So they also have a fake dating situation going on, and through them living together and the whole fake dating situation, they slowly become friends. And even when they're friends, Ryan does the most romantic things. Like there's still no feelings, but the way he has these acts of service, he knows she loves iced coffee. She only drinks her coffee iced, and so to avoid her having to add ice cubes in her drink and watering it down, every time he makes coffee, he puts it in the fridge for her so that it's already cold when she wakes up and goes to drink it. And her father is deaf, so even before they even start dating, he starts learning sign language to communicate with her dad, because he wants to communicate with her dad because she means so much to him. He's so adorable, and I really love their friendship, even before they even start dating, and the way they build such a solid foundation through their friendship to eventually becoming more. It was so beautiful to see, and that is why I prefer this type of friends to lovers, because you can actually see them becoming friends, and it's not that hard to make the leap to actually become more than friends. Then it is so good. I really love this book, and I'm gonna apparently keep recommending it over and over and over again and not feel any shame doing it. And the last contemporary is Powerless by Elsie Silver. This is actually a childhood friends to lovers, but like I love the way it was done in this book. Basically, when they first meet, Sloane is 10 and Jasper is 15. Basically, Jasper has been taken in when he was 15 by the Eaton family because his family is just fucking horrible. So, and that is when the first time that Sloane meets him, because Sloane's actually the cousin of the Eatons. But at the time, obviously, she's 10, he's 15. She starts developing a crush on him right away, and he doesn't see her that way. But they do become very good friends because she's the only one that he opens up to, and he shares some secrets with her that he's never shared with anybody else. And as they grow up, her feelings just become stronger and stronger, until eventually when I believe she's like 18 or 19, and he's already a professional hockey player. She asked him to go to prom with her, and he rejects her because it's very inappropriate, because he's already famous. He's quite a bit older than her. And obviously an age gap of 5 years doesn't mean anything when she's 20 or when she's 25. But at this point in her life, it is a pretty big deal. And there's another part in this book where she lets her feelings know. He rejects her. And the reason he rejects her the second time, there is a big there's a good reason for it, but I cannot tell you because it's kind of a spoiler. And that is why I ended up loving this book, because there is a good reason for why these two cannot be together. And the heartbreak that especially Sloane feels in this book and has felt, it just it broke my heart because I could definitely relate to that. There have been boys that I've pined over and that have never really loved me back. So that was definitely a relatable story to me. So eventually she kind of moves on. She gets engaged to somebody else, and on her wedding day she finds out that he's cheated on her. So she does a runaway bride situation and asks Jasper to come with. They go on this road trip, and that's when he finally confesses his feelings for her. And at first she doesn't believe him because she's put him on the pedestal so much, and she just resigned herself to the fact that she was just gonna love him from a distance. So she kind of does not believe him at first, but eventually she does, and these friends turn to lovers, and it was beautiful to read. And I really, really love this book. And like I said, if you give me good reasons why people cannot be together, then it's definitely going to turn into my favorite book, because this is definitely one of my favorite books I read this year. And even though I usually don't love the whole childhood friends to lovers trope, if it's done well, it turns into one of my favorite tropes. So this was very, very good in my opinion. Okay, now for the odd one out. It's Caught by the Convicts, and this is a novella. This is kind of a ridiculous, unhinged novella by Jessica Kane. Basically, this girl, she goes into this prison to see her horrible dad behind bars, but then there's like this prison raid going on, and these two inmates put her in their cell, and then like it turns into this MMF type of situation, and the friends to lovers comes in with the two guys because they've been friends for such a long time, and they got convicted together and they were put in the cell together. I believe one of them has always had a crush on the other one, and the other one really didn't. Yeah, like I said, they have been friends for such a long time, and eventually that part of the MMF turns into a friends to lovers. And I did think for such a short novella, that aspect was done very well, because with MMFs, it is very difficult to convince me that these three people love each other, because you have to convince me of not one, but not two, but three relationships. And that's basically impossible with a novella, but I did feel like them being friends was a good way for it to turn into an MMF type of relationship. So yeah, very good. And you fly through it because it's a novella, but it is unhinged, and it is pretty dark because you deal with convicts, and their behavior sometimes is unhinged, but it was really good. And like I said, it is insta-love with the girl, but the men, they have known each other for a while and have cared about each other for a while. Now for my two paranormal reads, two of my favorite books, actually. The first one is Witches Get Stitches by Juliet Cross. This is, I believe, the third book in the Stay a Spell series by her. And basically these two had an encounter 2 years ago where they basically had like a one-night stand, but not really. He just got her off and then she left. And she's a seer, and she saw that being together is just not a good idea at all because horrible things will happen. He knows that she's his fated mate. So, but since he knows that she's not interested in a relationship, he decides that he'll just be happy just being friends. And at the start of this book, she realizes, or like throughout this book, she realizes that she does want more and that she does really love him. And this was just so good. First of all, it was really hot. I think this is the first one in the series that I really, really loved. And Nico, he doesn't really, even though he is her friend, he's not really shy about telling her about his feelings. Everybody knows that they're meant to be together. The only one that still needs convincing is Violet. And I did feel like she had a good reason for keeping him at a distance in the romantic department. But they do start this business together that pushes them closer together. And, eventually she realizes that she does really want more. And I did feel like, since we did see them in the second book a little bit more, the leap to lovers was not a big one, obviously because it also is a fated mate type situation. This was a very believable friends to lovers in my opinion, and I really loved it. The last paranormal is Wolf Song. This book just has me in a chokehold. I love this book so much. It's one of my favorite books of all time, and I really, really love it. This is a male-male love story revolving werewolves. Basically, you follow a guy named Ox who's not a werewolf, but he has a pretty shitty home life, and then this family moves in, and the youngest in the family, he takes a liking to Ox, even though there is a big age gap, because I believe Ox is 16 and Joe is 10. I think. I don't know. So obviously there's nothing at all romantic going on, but Joe, who's a werewolf, can smell his mate already. But they become really good friends, and Joe has had something traumatic happen to him, and he stopped speaking, and the first day, like when he meets Ox, he just cannot stop talking. So his family also kind of encourages them to hang out. So they become friends, and eventually when Joe is old enough, they start dating a little bit, but then tragedy strikes the town and Joe leaves for years. So it's also very, very heartbreaking. And also, like I said, one of like a very good reason why these two are not together, because something horrible happened. One of them has to leave, the other one cannot come with. And it's so good. And once they come back, all those feelings from years, they come crashing back. And since this is a fated mate story, I did really love how TJ Klune handled it. I love the whole pack dynamic in this book. And it was just so good. It made me so sad that these two could not be together. And I was with them the entire way. Like, I felt so sorry. And it was heartbreaking because I believed it. I believed that they could not be together at those moments. So yeah, it's so good. If you've not read Wolf Song yet, I would highly, highly recommend it. Now for my only fantasy romance, it's Radiance by Grace Raven. This is actually a fun twist on this trope, because basically this is an arranged marriage between a human and this fantasy species. I believe that they call it the Kai, I think. And they think the other species is very ugly. They just think that each other is hideous, basically. But they become really good friends because they do really like each other. And through that, you actually see feelings develop because they really like each other, but they don't find each other attractive. And because they become such good friends, the attraction kind of develops through that. That is such a beautiful way a Friends to Lovers was portrayed. Like, with most of the Friends to Lovers I already talked about, they already found each other pretty attractive, but for other reasons they could not be together. Whereas in this book, they actually think each other is hideous. Like, they are not attracted to each other in the least. And it's through their friendship that they actually become lovers, which is a very, very good Friends to Lovers, in my opinion. Now for my two historical romances, the first one is Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which deals with another pining heroines. Apparently, I really love that trope. Basically, Penelope has had a crush on her best friend's brother for a long time. He really never saw her that way, and they were never really good friends before that. Like, he kind of felt sorry for her, and because his mom kind of forced him to dance with her during these social gatherings, he would, but it's not like they were actually friends when they were growing up. And he's been traveling a whole lot, but one day he kind of returns and they start bonding over writing, and that's when they become friends. And that's also when Colin finally notices Penelope and finally realizes that he does have feelings for her. And by this point, she kind of resigned herself to the fact that he was never going to love her. She also resigned herself to the fact that she was going to be a spinster and she was never going to fall in love and never going to get married. And by the time she does that and found her own confidence, that's when Colin kind of realizes what's been in front of him the whole time. I really love this book. It's one of my favorite in the Bridgertons. And last but most certainly not least is Again the Magic by Lisa Kleypas. So this is another childhood Friends to Lovers, but they actually became lovers when they were teens. So this is actually, you see them fall in love when they're younger. So they actually start as friends. She's this daughter of the Marquess, I think. But she's the daughter of this High Lord, and he's a stable boy. So, her family is fine with them being friends. And once they're older, feelings start developing and they actually start falling in love. But her father finds out and he basically tells her that she has to make him leave or he's gonna kill him, I'm pretty sure. So she does that, like she's forced to do that because she doesn't want him to get hurt. And while doing that, she actually hurts him, saying that she never fell in love, she was never in love with him and he's not good enough for her. So he leaves, he goes to the US and he basically becomes a very, very rich man, and now he's back to get his revenge. Basically, he just wants to have sex with her and then leave her and break her heart the way she broke his heart all those years ago. But while he does that, the only one that he breaks is himself because he still has feelings for her. She has always loved him. all these years. She never got married to anybody else because he was the love of her life. And something really bad happened after he left that also makes her very insecure. This is such a good book. It's so heartbreaking. It's heartbreakingly beautiful. I really loved it. This is actually the point 5 in the Wallflower series by Lisa Kleypas, so you can definitely read this as a standalone. Aline, she's the sister of a very prominent character in the Wallflowers, the hero of the second book. So it's so good. So good. Once again, a great childhood friends to lovers, because they actually became lovers when they were teenagers, and then to protect him, she had to force him to leave. And it was like a very real fear. So yeah, I just really loved it. So yes, those were 10 friends to lovers recommendations. Definitely let me know in the comments below if you agree with any of these. And I would really love to know your friends to lovers recommendations. I kind of told you what I really love about childhood friends to lovers. So if you have recommendations for those, definitely let me know that, or just any type of friends to lovers. And like I said, I want good reasons for why these two were friends and not lovers. So yeah, if they're just like flimsy reasonings, chances are I'm not gonna love them, but I would really love to know your recommendations. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.